Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another absolutely fantastic, wonderful ESL Pro Tour NA Weekly. This is number 5. In the bottom right, we have the Red Terran player kicking off the first round of our matches. You've seen him, you like him, you love him, you want him, you don't got him. He is Juggernaut Jason. No bully. He faces off against the Teal Protoss, another wonderful, great American StarCraft 2 player. He is Yaegz. So we've got ourselves a great little series here. And for everybody wondering, Nate, what's going on? First of all, yeah, I'm live on a Sunday. I know, YouTube people, you won't get that reference, but move my schedule around a little bit. Happy to be out here covering some StarCraft, some live StarCraft again. And that's been one of my favorite things about the ESL Pro Tour weeklies is just that we've got stuff every Sunday. Football season just ended, so I'm like, you know what? I don't need to take Sundays off now. I didn't cover weekly number 4 because I was watching the Super Bowl and I was getting lit. But now XFL's on Saturday, so I'm like, all right, I want to move my schedule around. I want to be able to cover this. I want to provide that premium casting content that you guys are just lacking from other sources. You know, I want to be like that SCV right here, repairing yo ass. You know what I'm saying? I want to have your back. Okay, so here we are. We're ready to get into it. It's going to be a great day of StarCraft action. Jason, we've seen lots of his games. He's one of the best Terran players in North America. Second only, I believe, to Nathanias, who is not allowed to play because he is too good and would ruin the fun of having competition. Now, we are playing on Ephemeron. Not too difficult to get a wall off to block a Reaper from going straight into the main base to scout. But that Adept is not going to be out just yet. Jason doesn't want to risk it too much. You can manually jump into this space. If you click behind it, it will make your Reaper run around. So Jason wants to make sure that no tech has been built at the wall. Now, if he were to jump up this one spot again, he could see it. Protoss players usually do not have a third pylon by this point in time. So a lot of Terran players, if the second pylon is up front, they really like to jump up, take a look over here, because if there's a fast Twilight or Robo or Stargate, it's almost always going to be in that spot, unless the Protoss wants to build an unnecessarily early third pylon. Just a little Terran tip there for you. Yaegz, on the other hand, he's a pretty good NA Protoss player. I haven't actually hit him on the ladder in quite a while, and I am going to assume that that is because he is way too high up for me to reach. So the Reaper is going to die after having spotted the robotics facility. And that's a nice little comfort for the Terran player, being able to have the scout on the tech. If you don't find any tech, you start to get nervous. Is there a proxy? Is something weird happening? Is it a hidden dark shrine? But we know now that the worst case scenario is usually what? Like a fast warp prism, which we are going to see actually, is we've got a robotics bay coming in for Yaegz. And this looks a lot to me like a quick disruptor drop play. These builds are becoming increasingly popular as Protoss players love doing that little bit of a micro, and it has the devastating ability to win the game very early on. If you can get a couple of huge SCV hits, you can force the Terran player into an all-in scenario. Not that a lot of Terrans don't still do 2-base all-ins these days, but, well, I think we can all agree that being able to land a cash money hit off of a disruptor is nice. But 2 observers in a row and no warp prism leads me to believe that, is he just going to go straight into Colossus? Huh, how about that? Okay. Looks like Daddy was wrong again. Observer sees the medevac on the way out as Jason is prepping his mine drop, the most standard build that a Terran player can do in StarCraft. He's got his engineering bay coming up, and following this, you build tech labs at the Starport factory. Boom, boom. Another 2 barracks. Boom, boom. But with the first observer and then the second observer, I mean, Yaegz has a very clear picture of what's going on in this game. 3 stalkers are already in position, has an adept ready to shoot at a mine that does attempt to unload on top of the army. Medevac will die. All 3 mines do get unloaded, and there's actually nothing here to kill it. No observer for detection just yet. So pulls the probes post haste. It actually only kills 3 probes. And these 2 mines are gonna try to run to the main, but Colossus does bonus damage to those mines. He's trying to run away. Unfortunately, you really, really need to get lucky for the Protoss player to forget that they have a Widow Mine sitting in their base. The Widow Mine is revealed after it fires, so Jason, resources wise, I mean, he loses a medevac and 3 widow mines in exchange for 3 probes, which not necessarily the greatest, but you got a stalker in there too, so it's not the worst either. Yaegz comes in, he confirms, yeah, bio follow-up. Jason is not really one of those players that we typically expect to be playing a sort of mech composition, although you'll certainly find a lot of Terran players on North American ladder that do like mech. You know, Nathanias, Cuddle Bear, Nathanias, and who's that really handsome dude that always wears tank tops and wristbands? Yeah, I can't remember his name, but him too. Extended Thermal Lance starts up. Honestly, I'm so used to seeing disruptor drops that I just kind of like, I kind of jump to it in my mind, but this is a very conservative Protoss build order, you know? And I say that because no fast blink, right? Yaegz says, I just want to kind of see what you're doing and hold attacks. He doesn't want to try and put that early pressure on. It's very common to see a lot of Protoss players do early blink just so that they can harass a greedy Terran. But in this case, Yaegz says, I just want to rush up to 2 or 3 Colossi so that I can really vaporize this Marine ball. Now, Colossus kills a Marine in 2 hits, assuming that the healing doesn't have too much of an impact there or the Terran doesn't split too well. So it's not a bad option. 3 Colossi is certainly terrifying. And in order to try and transition into something like Liberators, it's actually going to be really difficult for Jason. So he kind of needs to find a seam that he can needle through if he wants to be able to get something going in this game. Because right now, biggest fear for the Terran, this Protoss army is very nice. I mean, he's got the 3rd Colossus out. He has extended thermal lance. +1 attack is going to finish soon. And we have that first drop coming in over towards the natural expansion for Jason. Mine's going to take a stalker, and it looks to be that adept from earlier out. I might be blinded. It could have been a zealot. As the Colossi are going to come try to clean up these Marines by the mineral line. And this is actually a really nice play. He dives in on top of the Colossus on the 3rd base. So we have 1 Colossus killed in this game. Nothing to protect the 3rd. And after the natural drop shifts up towards the main base, Jason just going for the multi-prong style. He says, you know what? You've got a lot of Colossi early on, but I'm not afraid of that. 33 probes have died in a short span of time. Honestly, really like the setup that Yaegz had, but I guess the lack of blink made it a little bit too difficult to reposition his army. Recalls into the main base. Colossus 1 dead. Colossus 2 dead. And the rest of the army continues to fall as Jason is going to mop the floor with Yaegz in game number 1.